Hi, I'm Becky Groves, and I'm the Lower School Academic Dean here at Steward. This year, as many of you know, we are doing a video series on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and this video today is the second in those installments. Over the last few years, we have thought very deeply about identity and how that looks in our curriculum. And our teachers several years ago used the construct of windows and mirrors. We're thinking about why it's important for students to have mirrors to themselves and their own experiences within the curriculum, and then how powerful it is to provide windows into the experiences of others. Today you'll be hearing from a panel of faculty moderated by Rashad Lowry, who is our Campus Life and Community Stewardship Coordinator. You will hear from those faculty members about how identity is important within their classrooms.
Thank y'all for just joining me for this conversation. Today we're going to be primarily focusing on identity. Talk to us about how you have been able to integrate the concepts of identity into your classrooms.
I look at my role, especially in lower school, as challenging societal norms to show the possibilities, to expand identity past I am this type of person and therefore I do this. And I try to bring in as many different modern playwrights as I possibly can to show different ways that people live in the world.
For me in life science, our genetics unit is one where they can really understand their identity. It used to be in Punnett squares because it used to be identified through mother and father. And then it dawned on me that those were roles, not necessarily the traits that they inherited. And I wanted to honor that to our students who may have two mothers, who may have two fathers, who come from a blended family.
In the template that music educators are given when we identify composers are usually German classical composers. I mean, we have this in our literature books, we have posters on this. And I mean, this year I started off by diving into Bob Marley and then getting into Nina Simone. That's the whole thing about music. It not only involves the culture of the music, but it's all about what mood you're in.
How does your identity impact what you teach?
Something that I've personally done a lot of self-examination of over the past 10 years of my career, sort of slowly thinking about who am I as a white male Christian, how does that affect the books I select, how I read them, how I read the kids' writing. The kids want to hear that, and I think that helps them, hearing me just be honest about who I am and how it affects my experience. I remember reading a few years ago To Kill a Mockingbird while also reading about white privilege and the white savior. English teachers, we do put this book and this man on the pedestal. It's hard to sort of admit that to yourself, because imagine being a young black man or woman in your class watching Cal, the black housekeeper, be just sort of pushed to the side, literally cut out of the film practically. And imagine a young black man or woman seeing that and saying, I don't see myself in this book that's supposedly about me.
So I was born and raised in Venezuela. So my identity is Venezuelan, but I left the country when I was 22, and then I live in different countries. It's a little bit of confusing and a continuous search, and I want to bring that to my classroom. And the way is opening the eyes, because definitely it still exists the stigma that if you have an accent, you're less intelligent or you're less smart. And definitely I self-conscious of the way I speak in English, because no, it's not the way I speak in Spanish. And definitely I sound with an accent, but I don't think with an accent. I'm so glad to have an accent in English because I can represent that. Yes, we are immigrants, but yes, we have an education, and yes, I can bring something that I can share with you that I'm passionate about and identifies me.
I am 63-year-old white, almost 64-year-old white female, lived in Richmond most of my life. I'm also the child of an immigrant. I grew up with a mother who fled war-torn country. She also presented as white, and therefore nobody really knew it. So I didn't really mention it when I was a kid. I have had children in my classroom, particularly over the last 10 years, who are the children of immigrants. It's brought up part of my past culture that I have connected in a way that I didn't think about. And so I try to bring that up naturally in conversation with the whole class. I really strive to create an environment in which kids can feel comfortable sharing their identity. And so to do that, I have to kind of be the one that goes first sometimes.
Why is it important for students to be able to understand their identity?
So they can be confident about themselves, and they don't have to hide from being like the perfect specimen that we all strive to be every time we wake up. It's important for them so they can build the confidence, and I think a really great example, the person who does the voice of Darth Vader, this is James Earl Jones, a black man who not only did the voice of evil, but also did the voice of good with Mufasa in The Lion King. But also, kids, you know that when he was young, he was basically mute. He couldn't speak, and he had a stuttering problem. And eventually, he's one of the most well-known, beloved voices.
The students are taught by society to beat up on themselves. We have so many media influences that they think, oh, well, if I'm going to sing, I need to sound like Taylor Swift, or I need to sound like Nicki Minaj, or whoever. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you need to sound like you. You're never going to be that person. So don't try to. Yeah. Try to find yourself in the role. And that means using your experience, using all parts of your identity to figure out, how does this work within me?
I had two art teachers who were black, and I remember just the impact of what that meant for me and affirming me and being able to see myself reflected in the teachers. You know, I won the 3rd grade art competition, and you know, I didn't really think about it until like kind of reflecting, like I wonder if like just having a teacher who I had a connection with impacted my ability to just want to do well in that class.
When they're the 4th grade that I teach, 9 and 10 years old, they're really becoming more and more aware of their peers and what their peers think matters to them, and they're really becoming more and more aware of the outside world and what that world might think of them. And that's one thing I like about children. They want to know everything. They want to learn. They're inquisitive. They inquire. And so the more diversity in my classroom, the more diversity in what we read about and what we studied about, the more they learn and the more they grow.
I think it's also important that we remember that these are kids and they're gonna struggle with some of these ideas. You know, they're not gonna get it perfect. I think we just need to be here and connect with them as people and express a sense of care and support and allow them to struggle and experience and figure it out.
When we're in class and I talk about a scientist who has not been accepted based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity, they learn to understand that acceptance or that denial of acceptance matters to them because maybe they are of that race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity. And that I say to them, this is what hurts. If you're ever in that position, know that is not accepted anymore and that we're acknowledging that.
Talking about that safety net is something that we can provide here at school, and it's truly because of the size of the school. So that identity, just knowing, you know, each person name, you know, kids and teachers. But the fact that we are a small school is not a cure for all. There's a lot of room for improvement. We can always grow and keep learning and bring all that to our students, to our community.